So just maybe this will be the third part of the Sluts saga. Hopefully the last one, certainly the last one. Not much to say. Maybe I'll everybody, all the people involved. Kind of understand the subtext. So, but maybe I don't know. We have listeners or subscribers from African nations, or that are less into the understand the peculiarities of the Mediterranean intelligence, or maybe people from China or Japan, like real Japan, not Israeli Japan. So maybe you need some kind of a little bit of background. So I kind of I'll decrypt, unpack it, as they say. I will unpack this issue, decrypt the riddle. So these kind of these titans, both historically the Israelis that are dead long ago and the Iranians that became Israeli, almost all actually they looked like males, because they were what I call wizards in this blog, which is transgenders to male. And strictly speaking, homosexuals. The reasons for that, are described, this channel, at length, and it's not really, important now. Just to say that, they were sluts. Both the Israeli and the Iranians that became Israeli, and I would say that, before the revolution, there was still, it wasn't the same in Iran and Israel, it should be said. They were different, because in Israel, it was, in Iran, it was perfectly, during the Shah, it was, very, accepted, cultural phenomenon behavior, it was perfectly fine and even recommended to be an homosexual slut, but it was not acceptable at all to be female sluts. Unless you are a low class, low society prostitute, which is a different thing. But among the people of the more the higher status of society, it was it was totally cool to be homosexual slut, but not a female slut. But during this time, the 60s and the 70s and even before, in Israel, it was perfectly fine and recommended to be I would say, sometimes it was actually a ticket to the high society. It was actually kind of the rite of spring, of Stravinsky, like a ritual. Coming to adulthood, as they say, or comparable to the Firebird. So so it was more than acceptable to be homosexual slut, but even some viewed as during this decade as an essential part of, I would say, the course of life of a person that might become one day very famous and successful within the Israeli society, especially through by military service and and politics. Among them it was always not all of them, but yes, it was a very it was a good ticket to such careers, if you were as a young adult, you've had your share of being a homosexual slut. and many of the best, like, you know, people like in the history of Israel, like, I mean, the most respected, mostly, I mean, within the ranks of the IDF and also the Mossad, the Shabak, and politics. I mean, many of them were actually like that. I mean, I mean, it's just, I mean, this is the reality, like in Israel. So, but the main difference is that in Israel, it was actually perfectly fine to be a female slut during the time. So, I mean, it wasn't exactly the same culture. It was like, I mean, Israel is full of like female sluts. I mean, you know, up until today. I mean, it's known. Like, I mean, and I mean, you know, of course, I mean, you know, cultural differences vary, but I mean, and change throughout the years. But I mean, pretty much from the start, like from the 40s. I mean, and up until now. I mean. Like both like homosexual sluts and like female sluts were essential. I mean, I would say like, I mean, essential part of Israeli society. And it's like, I mean, no, it's just, I mean, you know, cultural differences. I mean, it's like, just like that. So this is the first thing you need to know. And another thing is that, like, I mean, is that, like, why did they change their sex and what's the problem? I mean, this is discussed a lot, but I mean, another thing that you need to know that, I mean, for some reason that I still do not know why, I have no idea why, but it became to me very early, like, I understood that for some reason, Titans, and it doesn't matter how they look, they are good at piloting, like real piloting of airplanes. I don't know why. I don't have any idea. Something biological, presumably. Or maybe not biological. I really don't know why, but it's just a effect. Like, I mean, it's not exactly the same creatures like humans. Like, again, we're different. I mean, I'm a cherub. Like, I have like my own properties, and Titans are different, and your Homo sapiens are different. I mean, they all share almost the same psychology, but not exactly the same physiology. So I mean, for some reason they are good at it. I don't know why. So historically they were used as pilots, like, I mean, specifically military pilots, but also in El Al, and sometimes, I mean, you know, first military pilots and then in El Al, like, you know, the Israeli, you know, famously corrupt Israeli airline, and everything in Israel is so stupid and corrupt. And the Israeli Air Force is like, you know, this is a shithole. And now it doesn't even exist now, which is funny. But I mean, I spoke about it like in the last couple of days that, I mean, it's actually ridiculous. It's all just a bunch of lies. They don't know how to do anything at all. I mean, so, but they're also aliens. I mean, yeah, I mean, life is full of surprises, but I mean, I understood long ago that they're actually aliens, like fake female transgenders. And is it important? Not from my perspective. It's not incredibly important, but I mean, yes, it gives you some kind of, like, I mean, you know, background to the fine music that you hear. Fine music, you know. La 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 la. הראש המסתובב, תמיד עולה המנגינה. This it's like one of the historically one of the songs that is most, I mean, associated with the Israeli Air Force. Yeah, I mean, no. So yeah, I mean, it's very famous. Like, I mean, throughout the history of Israel until today, that, I mean, presumably the pilots, like, you know, fighter pilots, like in airplanes in the Air Force, are all, like, I mean, you know, presumably they are kind of, like, I mean, their public image is based on to a large extent on the public image of British fighters during the First World War and to some extent the Second World War. You can see an example of this actually in the fourth season of Blackadder. Like, I mean, of Blackadder. Actually, I recommend that season. It's the best season of Blackadder with you know, Rowan Atkinson, and like it's actually very funny and nice, I think. So one of the episodes, I mean, it surrounds, like, I mean, such a character that, I mean, it's a fighter pilot, like in the British in the First World War, and this is mostly, I mean, this is like, it's an excellent like dramatic representation of the image, mythological image that was used in Israel to identify, like, I mean, or to describe pilots, like, in the Israeli Air Force. Of course, the reality is cannot be more different, because I mean, no. Reality is so in reality, no, just no. They, I mean, one thing is true that yes, they had a tremendous amount of sexual relationship, sex. It's true, but I mean, never with women. I mean, just males, and yeah, I mean, so. And arguably they were all females. I mean, not from my perspective, I should say that they were all females, but it's not. I mean, I would say arguably because I accept. I mean, it's a fact that this kind of view is a philosophical and also political. I mean, position that I know that not everybody accepts, but I mean, just so we are clear. From my perspective, like, they were all female. They were and still. I mean, doesn't matter what they do. They are females. I mean. But I mean, like, the factor, what actually they did, the very much factor is that they always looked like males, and they like to fuck, like, I mean, tremendous amount of, like, I mean, because they didn't change, I mean, you know, and they were kept like being sluts, and again, in Israel, it goes like perfectly well, like in line, like with, like, you know, future, you know, like future, like positions inside the military, so I mean, and even politics, so it's not like a problem, like, to do it and be like a fighter pilot in the of the country. It's like, I mean, it's recommended, like, I mean, and then it's many things that he actually shows, like, both character and also, like, you know, like no noble test, like, I mean, or I mean, tendency towards the more delicate stuff in life. That's the Israeli position. I mean, what can I say? I mean, it's like that, and it's like that for a long time. ולטובות כלום לא נשאר. Yes. So, everything in Israel is a show. It's just this country should be destroyed completely. They're all liars and theater actors. They don't know how to do anything at all. Anything at all. They don't know nothing. So another bit of background is that, I mean, presumably they did, not all of them died, like, actually, like all the Iranians, I mean, formerly Iranians that are now Israeli. But I mean, the prophet always, I mean, it is known, I mean, since, you know, the Middle Ages, that, I mean, it's kind of like a way of the prophet that he says, that he speaks about the future in past tense. It's past tense, and also, like, I mean, not only in grammatical way, but also in essence. And this is, I mean, this was very famous since the Middle Ages, but maybe rooted even in antiquity, but I'm not really sure. But I know that it was started to become, like, I mean, famous among, like, I mean, people with prophetic tendencies during the Middle Age, like the European Middle Ages. Just that you speak about the future, but in like both grammatically and essentially in a past sense. So, I mean, I do it all the time, and I mean, even my worst, like, I mean, haters should agree that, I mean, many times it actually, materialize, and I mean, the things that I say actually happening, and they are not trivial mostly. But, you know, haters gonna hate, as they say. Haters gonna hate. Haters. The Americans think that it's okay to guard the person by, I mean, supplying him with haters, like people that will, like, presumably will, like, put a hat on his head, which means that will protect him, like, with the helmet. Presumably, like, the people in this hostel for homeless people, they are my hats, because they are paid by the Americans to protect me from the, you know, because they know that, I mean, I'm always under, like, threat to my life in Israel, always. So they were so kind, like the Americans, but I mean, in reality, these were always the people that hated me the most. And always tortured me. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it to you too much, but I mean, there were no more hats, no more, you know, wizards, no more, like, I mean, slut pilots, no more of this shit. It's all done. It doesn't really matter what exactly will happen in like what is the series of events. What you need to know is that they can't do anything to me at all. They can't do anything to me at all. Just nothing. Like if they enter this door, like the door to my room, they evaporate on the spot. Believe it or not, I don't care. This is reality. They evaporate like they like enter this door. Like the molecule, I mean, you know, like I mean, deconstruction, like I mean, destruction in the molecular level. This is not a metaphor. Just like it. So they can threat and you know they can make noise and mostly they are all as good as dead because it's war now and I mean they are required I mean to report for duty, you know, in the front, but the IAF is dead because I mean several reasons, but I mean the Israeli Air Force cannot do anything now that it's like a real war with the Iranians. They can't do anything at all. And I spoke about it in previous videos. Now it should. So yes, the national treasure was a baby that was not a baby titan. Even male baby titans were actually considered treasures during the time because they were extremely rare and valuable. Like I mean, in a very cynical way, but that's the way it was. But the Iranians actually had like something that is even far more rare, which is not a baby male titan, but a baby male cherub, which is another species that actually is known in. Like I mean, actually is surprisingly or not, it's part of Iranian Persian culture. Like I mean, it's interesting because I mean, there are much more artistic depictions of cherubs in Iran historically than in Israel. Even though Iran is Islamic, but it wasn't always Islamic. So I mean, it wasn't. They didn't always have the objection to like you know religious or like pagan like you know paintings and sculptures and mostly I mean Iranians it's not like they're not ISIS like you know they do not destroy like cultural artifacts. I mean they have respect towards it. So what happens is that and in Israel, even though cherubs they have their place in the Bible, some I mean honorable place in the Bible, they are not featured in Israeli archaeology for all sorts of reasons. It's not the issue here, but in actually in Iran, in Persia, I mean, cherubs are actually more important, and sometimes they have different names, but more I don't know what. I don't speak Arabic, and of course I do not speak Irani like Persia, so I have no idea like how they call it. I don't even know what's the name. I know that. Sometimes they have different names. Like I mean, they're famously they are called lamassu in all sorts of cultures. It's the same creatures. Like what I call cherubs are the lamassu, and maybe they are called like that in Iran. I just don't know. But certainly they are known for thousands of years, and they are depicted in art, and these depictions share some similarity to the textual representation in Ezekiel. So I mean, it's most certainly the same creatures. Like I mean, so it's the same thing, and they weren't. I mean. It's part of the culture, like I mean, of ancient Persia, and also it's a part of the. It's like I mean, it's based in the Bible several times, and in the archaeology of other places like in the Middle East. So they had like one real one, like I mean, not just a sculpture or a painting, but like a real living baby male cherub, like or lamassu, whatever it's called. I don't know how they call it. But they had one of these and this is very very rare. And I want to say one thing. These people, I mean, all the people involved. It wasn't like today that people don't know nothing about like this and don't know about. I mean, today, I mean, there is like a widespread ignorance about these issues throughout all throughout the world, and partly it was because of a purge that happened during the 80s. And I speak about a lot in this channel. I don't want to repeat myself, but I mean the cherubs just I mean they wiped out a lot of the intelligence like status of the Earth, not only in Israel but also the KGB, the CIA. They used the Starship like to just I mean delete tremendous amount of people that they didn't like. Because the spaceship is there since long, like 100 years ago. And it wasn't even the first time that they do such a thing, but they did it very thoroughly during the 1980s. They didn't like, I mean, they had enough. Like the cherubs, when they can think about something for a long time, but once they set their mind on something, I mean, no spinning. They are the one that's doing the spinning. I mean, you know, not you. It's famously depicted in Ezekiel, but also depicted in my own art, and they will do the spinning, not you. You're not going to spin them. They will spin you, and very thoroughly. So, but also there is the kind of after the collapse of the Soviet Union, I mean, much information was lost. And in any case, I mean, all these intelligent peoples of the world, they live like in a pre-alphabet society. Like, I mean, like before writing was invented, everything is like, I mean, it's like, you know, oral transmission, and like, I mean, and you cannot, I mean, and it's done like you know, in secretive way, and like so people, I mean, many times that. So tremendous amount of information was lost. Most certainly, the most important of all is the fact that Venus is not what you think it is, but another thing, which is, I mean, incredibly important. And people, I mean, I don't know what's the agenda of course, my preference is that today, I mean, the leaders of this world will admit that the public image of Venus is incorrect. I mean, this should be done today. For me, truth is extremely important, not just, I mean, from like practical perspective, but I mean, it's value of its own. Like truth is important, like in its own. Like, I mean, without like even like, I mean, dealing with the implications. But I'm sure that the implications will be incredibly important and beneficial. But just, I mean, for the sake of what it is, just, I mean, that you need to say the truth. But even if you don't, and even if the earth will not be destroyed by the cherubs, I mean, in this, like, this kind of, like, I mean, episode, because we are now in the middle of another episode of, like, I mean, the revenge of the cherubs. But even if they will not kill all of humans or something like that, most probably, I mean, the conspiracy will not last more than 10 or 20 years, because, as I said in the previous video, humans will be able to send probes from their home to Venus, not even without the gates, like, very soon. It's not that difficult. Like, you don't need to be Elon Musk. I mean, even like, I mean, normal people would be able to do so in 20 years, I assure you, unless they're all dead. But if they survive, I mean, they will be able to do it themselves, and they will, like, so, I mean, so they will expect, like, measurements of 90 atmospheres, and they will get a 0.8 atmosphere, and they will sort of think, I mean, what's happened, but so maybe I did something wrong. But, I mean, then another, like, guy from, like, another place will say that actually the same thing happened to him, so very quickly, I mean, the conspiracy will collapse. So many things that were known, like, I mean, throughout the 20th century, people just don't know anything. Like, I mean, this is incredible, but I mean, this is the situation. So, why am I saying that? Because you should understand something. The situation of, I mean, during the 70s and the 80s, I mean, inside the societies of the Titans in Israel, in Iran, it wasn't like today that people don't know anything. No, they knew everything that there is to know. I mean, and they were not stupid, and they had like decades of experience, like, you know, in the Mossad and in the Iranian intelligence. I don't know what its name. So, and they were, you know, they had like so they knew a lot about this world, and they were not naive at all. And all of this should be said and they knew exactly what is going to happen. They knew exactly what is going to happen. They did not, any of these Titan females had no kind of, like, I mean, illusion that this baby will be a respectable person in Israel. They knew that he will be a farm animal. They knew it very well, that this baby will go to be a farm animal in Israel. Because this is predicated by both the understanding of what is actually cherub, and they knew it already, because it was not the first one. It was not the first one. They are rare, but they have their own history in Earth, and also in Persia, and also in Israel, like in the historical land of Israel. Yes, you might find it, like, I mean, all of it amusing, especially if you, I don't know, you are from like a country that, I mean, I mean, is not related to these issues, but it should be said that these are not new things, and the people involved knew about it because there was a tremendous like history behind it, and I mean, the main things were known, like the main issues were known, and even more importantly, what was already known very well is what exactly the Israelis are made of. You think the Titans they thought, I mean, they didn't know they're Israelis? They were like primary allies of the Mossad for decades, and these were the decades that the Mossad was the most horrible of all. They did the most cruelties. So they knew, I mean, they knew the Mossad very well, very, very well, and they were part, I mean, essentially they were the strongest and most, I mean, proficient allies of the Mossad, I mean, throughout like the years of the Shah. And we're speaking about decades of crimes against humanity that they conducted both by Iranians and by Israelis and together. Decades of crimes against humanity that were done by Israelis and by Iranians, both separate and together. These people had no illusion, not about history, not about reality, not about what are the Israelis. They knew very well what are, and they knew this baby he will grow to be a slave of the most horrible kind. They knew it very well. And I assure you that afterlife exists, hell exists. Some of them are already in hell. Some are in the way right now, and others, I mean, they already booked a train to hell very, very soon, and they cannot do anything to me besides speaking, which is the main profession in Israel, to move the mouth and the tongue. Blah, they can't do anything. Some of them, I mean, they're just now in this department. They hear me now, and they cannot do anything. They cannot do anything besides movement of mouths and tongues, and they are all as good as dead. But of course, they are, as much as evil as they are, these sluts, they are the secondary, like, I mean, villains in the story. The main villain was and is always the same, the state of Israel. The state of Israel. And, fortunately, the days of Israel are very, very, I mean, limited. Extremely limited, I would say.